party.
Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
Hi to you all viewers of Equinoxe Television. 6 p.m. in Douala. It's time for the news. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Our major stories this evening: 2 persons have been confirmed dead and several others severely injured following violent confrontations among people living in Mefup, a village in the Ntem Valley of the South region today. The locals are accusing non-natives or settlers for causing atrocities and other crimes in their village. Security forces and government officials are presently trying to calm the tension in the South region. We will be telling you more in just a moment. And you have certainly seen pictures of a young man who got trapped in the tires of a plane at the Simala International Airport in his desperate attempt to travel out of Cameroon surely for greener pastures. Why are the youthful population of Cameroon massively leaving the country, even at the expense of their own lives? Is it because of misery, uncertain and a bleak future? We attempt and answer still in this news edition. Viewers, those were our big stories. Details when we come back. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. We just told you a while ago at least 2 persons have been reported or confirmed dead and several others have been injured following violent confrontations which happened, that was earlier today, in the Mefup village, that is in the Ntem Valley of the South region of the country. The violent confrontations among the inhabitants of the village happens today. Like I earlier indicated, the locals of the Mefup village are accusing other communities who are seeking refuge in the village of the south because of political and social instability in their own areas of origin for being behind several crimes and other atrocities happening in the Mefup village of the south region. Several persons have incurred severe injuries in that confrontation, as you see on the screen, while 2 deaths have already been confirmed. Local administrative officials have been struggling to calm the people of the Mefup village of the South region, precisely in the Ntem Valley. Security forces too were present to calm the violent confrontations and get to know what actually is at the origin of the bloody fights between the Mefup villages and other communities. We will be telling you more on that. That should be in our subsequent news editions. You see on your screens there the young people of the Mefup village of the Ntem Valley of the South region. They were really disgruntled today, and that led to violent confrontations, and 2 deaths have already been reported, with so many other persons injured. Security forces are trying, like I earlier said, to calm down the angry population. We will be telling you more on what is happening in the South region. That will be at 8 p.m. still on Equinoxe Television. Now let's move on to one of our big stories still. More and more youth struggle to leave Cameroon to the diaspora at all means, even at the expense of their lives, despite the head of state's repeated call for them to stay and invest in agriculture and also entrepreneurship. Less than 2 weeks after the repeated call, a young man sneaked into the landing gear of a departing plane at the Simala International Airport to leave from the country, but unfortunately fell off on the tarmac and died during takeoff. Innocent Azez spoke with some youths in Douala on why their peers are desperate to leave the country at all costs.
It was a spectacular show the young man in his 20s put up at the Simala International Airport early Thursday when the morning flight was departing. Airport authorities were shocked when the young man bearing a small bag fell out of the landing gear of the departing Airbus to the tarmac and died. It is believed he sneaked into the airport before dawn to lodge in the plane's landing gear. This explains the desperation of youths to leave Cameroon for a better life overseas, despite assurances and repeated calls by President Paul Biya in his 2024 and the 2025 National Youth Day speeches for young Cameroonians to stay at home. In verse immersed in agriculture or entrepreneurship to be successful. Inflation has made life very difficult in Cameroon. As a family head, it is complicated. In such a situation, youth will want to live at all costs, and when the idea is nursed, no one can convince the youth to drop the adventure. There are no sufficient opportunities here in Cameroon, limited training infrastructures and equipment to blend theory with practicals. Reason why some students or youth think of overseas for better education and training in their field of study. The barren assurances to help youth by the government is a contributing factor. Social exclusion of youths in diverse fields, and most particularly unemployment, is highlighted as a major push factor. These youth also believe life overseas is far more better than life in Cameroon, even though every country has its challenges. We are made to believe it is easy to get a job over there, and whatever you work, you are well paid. The authorities take care of your family. So it is but normal for youth to want to leave Cameroon. It is about trying to have a better life elsewhere. Though they welcome the head of state's advice to invest in agriculture and entrepreneurship, they regret exorbitant taxes discourage them and kill their business plan. Government should encourage us to be creative by reducing taxes. This citizen posts that the state supports youths, except they do not present a viable project to merit such a support from the government.
We will be talking more on the massive exodus of the youthful population in Cameroon in the second part of the news. Now let's talk health. Do you still remember a fake video posted by a blogger in connection with the case of triplet babies said to have been held hostage at the General Hospital here in Douala? The preterm premature babies, after 36 days of intense medical care in the neonatal unit of the hospital, have been handed to their parents finally. Weighing 2.5 kilograms, medics say the triplets are now thermoregulated, which means they can survive now out of incubators. Lucy Liengu is here with details.
After spending 36 days in the neonatal unit at the General Hospital of Douala, Foyer Elsa and her husband are extremely happy to return home with their triplet babies. The babies were preterm, born at less than 32 weeks of pregnancy.
Ils ont fait 36 jours dans la couveuse et enfin on a tout de retourner à la maison. Donc je suis vraiment content.
The joy is not just for the triplet family, but also for the hospital staff.
Donc ça n'a pas été facile dès le départ.
Dr. Elumu, a pediatrician, says taking care of the babies wasn't easy at first, as they presented premature complications for 2 weeks before regaining their health. Professor Nkum Kedi, pediatrician and Deputy Director General at the General Hospital of Douala, stated that although the babies have been asked to return home, they will be brought for checkups every 2 days. In case of any complications, the hospital can be contacted.
La maman est autonome et s'en sort, on commence à espacer les visites. Et chaque enfant doit être pris en charge individuellement.
The baby's mother has been encouraged to take their temperature every morning before bathing them. She was also taught how to prepare milk and position her babies for breastfeeding.
La mise au sein, comment prendre soin de laver les bébés.
Weeks ago, the story of triplet babies retained at the General Hospital of Douala created a wave of controversy across Cameroon. The Director General clarified that the babies being premature were held for proper medical follow-up. The bill, 1,485,000 francs, has been paid by the Minister of Public Health, according to the Director General of the hospital.
Meantime, security has been tightened in the Senegal Maritime Division and its environs after the shocking discovery of skeletons and human bodies that was in Sikum, a village not far away from Edeya. The local population there now say they live in fear. They were complaining during a security meeting in Edeya. Cedric Chakutio tells us more.
The discovery of a human skeleton, 3 bodies in a state of decomposition, and a tied-up victim in a critical condition in Sikum raises serious concerns. The locality, situated along the National Road number 3 between Douala and Edeya, is faced with repeated violence and insecurity, a situation greatly feared by the inhabitants. Every day we hide in the forest when we go to our farms. Since this incident occurred, we really don't want to fall into the trap of these killers. I am very scared.
On a peur déjà que même quelqu'un part au champ, ça peur. Comme là maintenant j'étais au champ, mon mari m'a laissé, il était là-bas. Je suis venu en courant.
They will steal motorcycles, attack passengers. It mostly happens in the night at around 11 p.m. This happens because we don't have security men here. What are we supposed to do? We are very afraid. In the means to find solutions to the problems of insecurity faced by the inhabitants of Sikum, a meeting between the senior divisional officer of the Senegal Maritime Division, Cyril Ivan Abando, the chief and local population, was organized. It is a total of 3 bodies that were found and a skeleton. And unfortunately, Hassan, the survivor, died, which makes 4 bodies and 1 skeleton. The senior divisional officer reiterates the mode of operation used by these bandits. They start from Douala, coming from Dokpasi, Yassa and other quarters. What they do is that they stop the bike rider, giving a destination that the bike rider won't refuse. The bike rider will accept, knowing that he will be given a huge sum of money.
25 000 francs la course, sous le fallacieux prétexte de voitures en panne dans la zone de Sikum.
Once arrived, these bandits will attack the motorbike rider, then take away his belongings, tie his hands, then abandon him there in the forest. Each passenger and bike rider has to be careful because bike riders are the most targeted individuals. After having paid a visit to the bereaved family and after a tour at the site where the incident occurred, local authorities reiterated their fight against this phenomenon.
Unfortunately, just to let you know that the lone survivor or the escapee from the kidnappers finally lost his life. His name was Hassan. Now let's talk something else. Some newly appointed assessors of the Littoral region have been called to uphold impartiality, integrity and morality in the discharge of their duties dubbed sensitive. The call came from the military state prosecutor who chaired their oath-taking ceremony in Bonanjo today. The ceremony was attended by top-ranking military officials as well as family members. Our reporter for me, Armstrong Sander, was there.
Coming from diverse ranks in the army, among them colonels and lieutenant colonels, the 8 new assessors took their oath of service at the Littoral Regional Court of Appeal in Bonanjo, Douala. Promising to respect ethics, professionalism, honesty and integrity, the newly installed assessors highlight the sensitivity of the role that they are called to play. Emerging from different corps within the Cameroonian army, notably the Air Force, the National Gendarmerie, the Land and the Air Force, as well as the Medical Corps, the newly installed officials have a huge task to play a crucial role in the military justice system. It is a sensitive role indeed, because our decision can unjustly send innocent people to jail as well as unjustly free individuals who are guilty.
En tant que garant de la loi,
Lieutenant Colonel Mbole Dimitri, the military state prosecutor, says the occasion was an opportunity for him to remind the officials of the critical nature of their job and the huge responsibility awaiting them. He also challenged them on the necessity to keep deliberations secret, be impartial and trustworthy. The officials called to play this critical role in the military justice system in Cameroon were appointed by a presidential decree. The oath-taking ceremony officially grants them the powers to legally exercise in their roles.
Now let's treat you to news out of the country. The Democratic Republic of Congo has requested military support from Chad to help combat the growing insurgency by the M23 rebels in eastern DRC. DRC's Minister of Regional Integration met with Chad's President Mahamat Idriss Déby Itno on behalf of President Felix Tshisekedi to discuss the issue. Meantime, the Vatican has escalated preparations for the pontifical death of Pope Francis, who remains hospitalized at Rome's Communal Hospital. Our foreign page roundup with Immaculate Fogwe.
The Vatican is allegedly preparing for Pope Francis' funeral after it was reported that his condition had worsened and that he had confessed fears that he may not survive. The 88-year-old pontiff was taken to Rome's Gemelli Hospital on February 14th after suffering from bronchitis and severe chest pain. He has since developed pneumonia and a respiratory infection that is particularly worrying. Devotees have begun gathering and praying outside of the hospital, and it's now believed that his funeral is being rehearsed by the Swiss Guard. Matteo Bruni, director of the Holy See Press Office, said Pope Francis was in good spirit and was grateful for people's prayers. He added that the Holy Father's clinical condition is stable and the blood tests evaluated by the medical staff show a slight improvement, particularly in inflammation and scarring of the lungs. It remains unclear as to how long Pope Francis will stay in the hospital. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi has requested for military support from Chad to combat the M23 rebels. The potential support has been formally discussed, but nothing has been ruled out. More than 7 million people are now internally displaced in Congo due to the conflict that is ongoing. The M23 rebels captured Goma last month and later advanced into Bukavu. Since January 26th, the conflict has resulted to over 3,000 deaths and nearly 3,000 injuries. Kinshasa has accused Rwanda of supporting the M23 rebels and sending troops in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. However, Kigali has repeatedly denounced these allegations.
In sports, has the Confederation of African Football CAF cancelled the fine levied on Samuel Eto'o for signing a brand ambassador deal with a betting company? Many went jubilating on social media Wednesday when lawyers of the president of the Cameroon Football Federation published a media release about the incompetence of the ethnic community to judge such matters. Majikan Gabriel has more.
It was on July 4, 2024, that the disciplinary board of the Confederation of African Football, CAF, found Samuel Eto'o guilty after he seriously violated the principles of ethics, integrity, and sportsmanship as provided in Article 2, Paragraph 3 of the CAF Statutes by signing a brand ambassador contract with a betting organization in exchange for remuneration, and consequently fined Samuel Eto'o an amount of $200,000. This was one of the reasons why the Confederation of African Football sidelined the president of the Cameroon Football Federation from running in the elections into the executive committee of CAF. Many were taken aback late Wednesday evening with the media release of Samuel Eto'o's lawyers, Barrister Florent Bayen Yebga, Barrister Antoine V, and Barrister Bonnie Elame, who said in their outing that the CAF disciplinary committee lacked jurisdiction on judging ethical matters, which falls exclusively within an independent ethics committee. Consequently, the decision of June 27, 2024, which fined $200,000 on Samuel Eto'o, has been cancelled entirely. The outing of the Lex Shield legal firm has, however, been questioned by stakeholders in the sports domain, who are now demanding to have an official document from the Confederation of African Football CAF, because they believe CAF won't communicate via the legal team of the complainant, but do that on their different platforms. It's not been long that lawyers of Samuel Eto'o wrote to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS, about CAF delaying to render its judgment on the case of Samuel Eto'o.
Now, before we move on to the second part of the news, let's treat you to this very interesting element. It is the Man of the Year of the Nouvelle Expression group. Man of the Year, Magistrate Yab Abdul, crowned by the group La Nouvelle Expression and Equinoxe. Who is he and how did he emerge Man of the Year? Babila Jonathan has answers to those questions in this write-up.
The editorial team of private Cameroonian media group La Nouvelle Expression and Equinoxe had a hard time deciding between Yab Abdul, president of the audit bench of the Supreme Court of Cameroon, and Cyrus Ngo, director general of the Douala Port Authority. The balance finally tipped in favor of Yab Abdul. The magistrate was named Man of the Year of La Nouvelle Expression and Equinoxe Media Conglomerate 25 years after the last nomination of the editorial team of the private media founded by Severin Chunke. The COVID-19 scandal, also known as COVID-Gate, exposed by the Supreme Court's audit bench with unprecedented revelations, played in favor of Magistrate Yab Abdul. In 2021, 1 year after the COVID-19 pandemic that brought the whole world to its knees, a report from the audit bench of the Supreme Court was published. It laid bare the various financial scandals that marred the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic in Cameroon. The report exposed numerous embezzlement scandals involving ministers and general managers in office. The first edition of the media group's Man of the Year was organized in January 1992. It crowned Man of the Year 1991. The historic opponent of President Paul Biya, late John Frundi, the then national chairman of the Social Democratic Front, won the award. In its initial format, the jury consisted of 24 personalities of the Republic from all socio-political and economic spheres of the country. In its revamped version, the event crowns the courage, determination, seriousness and commitment of the candidate to work in a sector of national life and the development of the country. This is what has been clearly identified in the winner of the 2024 Man of the Year, Magistrate Yab Abdul. Born on November 15, 1956 in Fumban in the West region, Yab Abdul has been the president of the audit bench of the Supreme Court since August 10, 2020. After graduating from the National School of Administration and Magistracy in 1985, he began his career as a deputy public prosecutor in different courts in the Lekki Division. He then served as president of the Court of First Instance in Sang Melima and High Instance of the Ja and Lobo Division, and prosecutor of Courts of First Instance in Fu and Yaoundé. In 2012, he was appointed president of the Special Criminal Court, and in 2017, first Attorney General at the Public Prosecutor's Office at the Supreme Court. August 10, 2020, he was appointed president of the Audit Chamber of the Supreme Court.
Congratulations to him. And that does it for the first part of the news. Let's now move on to Talking Point. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is Dr. NGWAYAM, and we are talking about the mass exodus of the youthful population. Doctor, thank you so much for being our guest. You sure have learned of the youth who died on the tarmac at the Yaoundé Simalen airport. He was struggling to travel abroad, and he finally died. He got trapped in the tires of the plane. What is your analysis of this act by the youth in Cameroon?
Thank you very much for asking me about this youth who fell out of the aeroplane in Simalen the other day in Yaoundé. This is just a sign of something, a disease that is in our society, in our community, that we must address. It's a very tragic event, and we have to go beyond just looking at it and saying, why did the child do that? yes, we need to ask what happened, why did the child do that, and understand the why. Because once we understand the why, we will know how to correct the problem and make sure it doesn't happen again. When I say it is a sign, it's a sign in the sense that this problem has been happening in many ways. Many of our youths have been dying in the Sahara Desert. Many of our youths have been dying in Mexico. They have been dying in the Atlantic. They have been dying all over the whole place. They are being kidnapped in Libya as slaves, and their organs removed. Some of them are killed in Tunisia. Some of them I don't know what. Many die in the Mediterranean Sea. And even when they have crossed, you've seen sometimes even those coast guards in the Mediterranean sinking their boats so that they die. And now America, Trump and the others are chasing them out of America. They're chasing us out of America. So there's a problem. The question is, why is it that we of African descent, we keep running to those other nations and putting our lives at risk and going through all those risks to get there, and yet we are not seeing the youths of America, Germany, Japan, or China coming to Cameroon in the same waves, or coming to Africa in the same waves. Even when they are coming to Africa, they are not coming because they are running away from something. They are coming because they want to get something precious from us and take back there.
Thank you so much, Dr. NGWAYAM. We would have loved to go to the end of this conversation, but because of time constraint, we would have to end here for today. But tomorrow, we are sure going to continue talking about why the youthful population of Cameroon wants to leave the country at all costs, even at the expense of their lives. And viewers, that was what we put together for you tonight. Thank you so much for the confidence. Our programs continue. Equinoxe Soir comes up at 7 p.m. and the news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now and see you again tomorrow same time, God willing.